Hi loves, hi loves, hi loves. Welcome back to my channel, For today's video, we're going to be doing a little baking with me video. We're soft spoken, and I am making sourdough protein bagels today. Today, I've made them quite a few times, and not to brag, but I do think they're the best bagels I've ever had in my entire life. I will include the recipe that I use down below. But before we get started, if you're interested in your own custom video from me, there is more information on that linked down below as well. But let's get right into it. If you hear any nails clacking around, this is Oliver, and he will be our sous chef today. The ingredients you will need are bread flour. This is the brand that I like. You will also need cottage cheese, but don't worry if you don't like cottage cheese, you genuinely can't taste it at all. This just adds a little protein boost. You need your sourdough starter. This is mine. I'm shocked that it's still alive. I forgot to feed it for like a solid 2 months, but if you keep it in the fridge, you can pretty much keep it alive. And you also need salt and water. So it's a very simple recipe. It's just a little bit time consuming, not in active steps, but a lot of waiting for the sourdough to kick in. So I'm going to bring you in so that you can see what I'm adding to the bowl. To start, you need 120 grams of your sourdough starter. If you don't have sourdough starter, you can get some from a friend, from a local bakery, or you can make your own. It takes about a week, and the ingredients are just water and flour. And you can just look up a recipe online for that. So you'll take 120 grams of your sourdough starter. Let's see. That is 75. That is 111. Just a little bit more. Okay, that's 121-ish. Actually, no, it says 118. Let's add a touch more. You can't really go wrong having a little bit too much starter. Okay, that's 125. I'm going to call that good. And then you need 200 grams of warm water. So I just heated this up in the microwave. Okay, that is 200 grams. 10 grams of sea salt, so I just have my little salt container here. 3 grams. 7. Okay, that is 10 grams of salt, just to help the sourdough starter kind of dissolve and break up. And then you're going to add your cottage cheese. It is 455 grams, which is this entire container. So you'll just dump this whole thing in. I think if you Every time I've blended it, I've, like I said, never been able to taste cottage cheese or anything. I think if you're concerned about the texture, you should definitely blend it. But the recipe doesn't call for it to be blended, so I'm sure it will be fine. And then I'm just going to whisk that together as well. I'm slightly regretting my decision to not blend it. I think I am going to blend it. No, let's test it. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe I can cut out one extra step, you know. Now for our final ingredient, it will be 700 grams of bread flour. I'm just going to dump this right in. That's the other benefit about weighing, is you don't have to dirty any measuring cups. Okay, that was too much. I'm just going to grab the flour on the top that didn't touch the other ingredients, take it out. I'm just going to mix all my ingredients together with the wooden spoon. And this is just going to form a shaggy dough. To just combine it a little easier. And it's okay if all the flour bits aren't fully hydrated because it will be resting. So that will help hydrate the flour. And just give it a little knead until it kind of starts to form like a real dough ball. And grab up all the little crumbs that are coming off. And to knead, you just take it, you kind of roll it backwards, and then use the heels of your hand to push it in on itself like that. And you can rotate it as you go. But there's really no wrong way to do it. You're just kind of pushing it around the table. Just grab up all the little flour that is falling all over the place. Get your sleeve rolled back up. There we go, we have our nice little dough ball here. I'm actually going to put it in my KitchenAid bowl just so I don't have to clean another bowl right this moment. Take a clean kitchen towel and I'm going to dampen it with warm water. Cover your dough and it will rest for probably 2 to 3 hours until it doubles in size. So we will be back. Okay, it has been actually probably like 3 hours or so. You can see because I didn't blend the cottage cheese, it does have these little cottage cheese bits. So we'll see how that goes for the texture. But yeah, if you don't want these little cottage cheese bits, then just blend your cottage cheese. So you're just going to pull up each corner and fold it in on itself, like that. And this just adds tension and forms gluten development in the dough. I'm just going to do that now. into a ball. Actually, I'll take it out so you can see it better. Taking the end, putting it in the center. Taking an edge, putting it in the center. Taking an edge, putting it in the center. And then same thing with the left side. Take the edge, put it in the center. So now you have this nice dough ball. And we're just going to cover and proof this for another 30 minutes. And then we will be forming our bagels. And then you'll just roughly form it into a rectangle so that it's just easier to cut out 10 relatively even pieces. So just something like that. And I'm taking this bench scraper. This bench scraper here. I'm just gonna slice it down the middle. And then roughly 5 pieces. And it's no big deal if any are bigger than another. Just like that, and then our final slice. Each one and form it into a ball. You can just kind of tuck the ends under and give it a roll like that. You could also do that little method where you just kind of you stick it on and then you take your hands and just pull it back and it'll increase the tension and tighten it at the bottom. So you have your little dough ball here. And then you just stick your thumb through it like that. Now the other side. And then you'll just do like this. You just shape your little bagel. And it will proof and get bigger, so ignore that it looks like a bagel for a baby right now. And you might want to make your hole a little bit bigger than you expect because, like I said, it'll proof and puff up. And then I'm just going to put these bagels on a parchment-lined baking sheet like this. Unfortunately, I ran out of parchment paper. Next. And it's good for this dough to be slightly sticky because it just helps it keep its form and helps. If you're trying to do this like on the counter, you can't really do this method if the dough is not tacky because it won't stick to the bottom. Look at that perfect little dough ball. Gorgeous. Thumb through, twist, 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 twist. And then you're just rocking it from here. You can actually form each ball and do like an assembly line type thing. I think it might go faster, so I'm going to form each ball, set it to the side, form the next. I'm feeling more confident about the unblended cottage cheese. I don't think it'll be bad. Look at these gorgeous. These are such perfect little balls. I love them. I've just started Nobody Wants This on Netflix. So I was just watching that while I was eating my dinner, while this proofed. Like halfway through this season so far, the second season. Also with this recipe, also when you're pulling to the side, make sure you grab down and you pull it at the bottom, like you're not pushing it from the top, because that's how you make sure it folds under. But this recipe, when you look at it online, it calls for, I think, half a teaspoon of active yeast, but I don't do that. I just do sourdough starter, and you'll just increase the wait times like I have to allow proofing with sourdough starter and no active yeast. These bagels, they also freeze really well. These also freeze really well. So after you make them tomorrow, because they're about to go in the fridge overnight, but after you actually boil and bake them, you can just wrap them up. Once they cool, you can wrap up like half of them, put them in the fridge, because since they're all fresh ingredients, they only last between like 3 to 4 days at room temperature before they get moldy or stale. But you can just stick them in the freezer and pull them out the night before you want them to let them thaw. But yeah, okay, so now we have all our balls, and then same thing. Just poke a hole, make your bagel, kind of even, squish out the edges to even it out a little bit. And if it is too sticky of dough for you to handle, like if yours is a little stickier than mine, you can definitely add a little bit more flour, but just a sprinkle. There you go. So here are my beautiful bagels. As you can see, we have 10. And I'm now just going to put these in the fridge overnight with that damp towel on top of them so they don't dry out in the fridge. This is an optional step, but I do it every time, honestly, because by the time I get to this step, I really don't feel like doing the rest of the process anymore. I'd like a break. So this is going to go in the fridge overnight, and I'll see you in the morning to bake them. Hello. So it has been actually 24 hours. I assume that it's fine to leave the bagels in the fridge for that long. We'll find out together. But I have my bagels here. I pulled them out of the fridge about 20 to 30 minutes ago so they can be a little bit less cold and do a little bit of a final proof. I have a pot of boiling water over here, which has a tablespoon of honey and a tablespoon of baking soda in it for when we boil the bagels. And I have my oven preheated to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. So now I'm going to bring you over here with me, and we're going to boil the bagels and then get them in the oven. Well, I also have my toppings here. I have poppy seeds. I thought that I had sesame seeds, which I highly prefer, but I do not have them, so we're going to do some poppy and some plain. Okay, so I'm keeping my bagels over here, and they're going to go into the boiling water with this slotted spoon for 30 seconds on each side. And we can fit, I'm going to fit about 3 in here. Just are sticking. Now, they should float, which means I have done something wrong. But hopefully yours will float. But I'm going to do my best to give them a little flip. I think they'll still taste good. then you just want to keep an eye on it for boiling over. They're hard to find in there with the slots. And then you can just kind of let it drip off a little bit. And then you'll put it back on your baking sheet. Now, while they're still wet, this is the time to sprinkle on your toppings, but make sure you do it on the prettier side. Now we take our bagels, and into the oven they go for 20 minutes, and you'll rotate halfway through. And we wish for the best in there. See you in 20. Hello, so it is the next morning. I have my bagel here with just butter on it because I forgot my cream cheese at work. And I also, normally I do cream cheese, cucumber, and tomatoes sliced with a little salt on top. And I forgot all of those. But sadly, I think I can 100% confirm that I have killed my sourdough starter. So I'll spend the next week bringing her back to life. These are quite dense. I would say they're underbaked. But yeah, so this will be the true test of like, can you fully butcher this recipe by not using any active sourdough. Like if you don't have anything to leaven the bagels, turns out it doesn't work. So make sure your sourdough is alive, and or probably do use that yeast that I skipped. But if it still tastes good, then it means you can just do anything. So let's see. You know, they're definitely underbaked because they didn't expand at all. So like the middle is still, it's just dense and doughy, and it tastes very bready, not like a bagel. But I'm still gonna eat it. Like it's definitely still edible. It's just not fantastic. But I swear this recipe is so good, and I do highly recommend you make it as long as you have active sourdough starter. If it's dead, bring it back to life first, step one. You can also see they're like weird and wrinkly, and that's because they didn't actually expand at all. But I made all of these, and I will still be eating them. They're still edible and they still taste fine. They're just not the best. But yeah, so I hope this makes you feel like you can, make any mistake you want in baking, and it's just not that deep. Just try your best, and it'll still work out in the end. So really, it's just a uplifting story, I think. But anyway, thanks for hanging out with me and making bagels and following me through this process. Let me know if you make your own. Like I said, the recipe is really good. I will link it below. I've made these like 5 times. This is the first time it didn't work, and that's just because my sourdough was dead. So yeah, I hope you make it, and I'm sending you so much love, and I'll see you in my next video.